I stood in my living room staring at the balloons hanging from every corner. Pink and blue floating cheerfully like this was supposed to be a celebration. In my hand, I held the remote control for the projector. Outside in the backyard, my wife Sienna was laughing with guests playing the perfect expecting mother. Everyone thought this was a party to celebrate our baby boy. But I knew better. Inside that projector was a DNA test result, and when that blue smoke cleared, everything was going to change. Before I show you how this party went down, let me know where you are watching from. If you have ever felt betrayed by someone you trusted, completely hit that like button. And subscribe, because what happened when that blue smoke cleared is something you will never forget. I met Sienna 5 years ago at a coffee shop in downtown San Diego. I was working on a design project for a client laptop, open headphones, and completely focused. She walked up to my table and asked if she could borrow the chair. When I looked up, I swear time stopped. She had this warm smile, bright eyes that seemed to light up the whole room, and an energy that just pulled you in. We talked for 3 hours that day. She worked in marketing for a tech startup. I was a freelance graphic designer trying to make a name for myself. Our first date was a beach bonfire. She brought marshmallows and a blanket. I brought my guitar and played terribly, but she laughed anyway. We dated for a year before I proposed on that same beach where we had our first date. The wedding was small, just close family and friends, right there on the sand with the ocean behind us. Sienna wore a simple white dress and no shoes. She held my hands and said, "I want to build everything with you." I believed her with every fiber of my being. We rented a small apartment in North Park, nothing fancy, but it was ours. The first 4 years were good. Really good. We had our arguments like any couple, but we always worked through them. We both wanted kids, but agreed to wait until we were more financially stable. Sienna got promoted twice at her company. My design business started picking up real clients. We were building that life she talked about on our wedding day. Then, 6 months ago, everything changed. I came home from a client meeting and found Sienna sitting on the bathroom floor holding a pregnancy test. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes and whispered, "We are having a baby." I dropped my bag and pulled her into my arms. I kissed her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. I was so happy I could barely breathe. We spent that whole night talking about names, planning the nursery, imagining what our child would look like. Would they have her eyes or mine? Her laugh or my stubbornness? Sienna seemed happy, but looking back now, I realized she was not as excited as I was. At the time, I thought she was just nervous about becoming a mother for the first time. She had terrible morning sickness those first few weeks. I did everything I could to help. I made her ginger tea, rubbed her back when she felt nauseous, went to every doctor appointment. She would look at me sometimes with this expression I could not quite read and say, "You will be a great dad." I held on to those words like a promise, but around the 3rd month, things started feeling off. Sienna became distant. She stopped sharing little details about her day. She was always on her phone, taking it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. When I asked who she was texting, she would say, "Just work stuff, babe. The new campaign is really demanding." I wanted to believe her. Her company had just landed a major account, so it made sense she would be busy. She started coming home late. 9 o'clock became 10, then 11. Client dinner. She would explain kissing my cheek before heading straight to the shower. I would sit at the dining table with the food I had cooked getting cold, wondering why she could not text me earlier to let me know. But I pushed those thoughts away. I trusted her. We were going to be parents. This was supposed to be the happiest time of our lives. One night, I woke up around 2 in the morning and realized Sienna was not in bed. I found her in the living room, sitting in the dark with her phone screen illuminating her face. She was smiling at whatever she was reading, typing quickly. I cleared my throat and she jumped, nearly dropping the phone. The screen went black immediately. "Just checking emails," she said quickly. "Go back to bed, honey. I will be there in a minute." But something about the way she said it made my stomach turn. A week later, her phone buzzed on the kitchen counter while she was in the shower. I was not the kind of person who checked their partner's phone. I never had been. But that morning, something made me glance at the screen. The message preview read, "Cannot wait to see you tonight," from a contact saved as J. My heart started racing. I picked up the phone, but it was locked. When Sienna came out wrapped in a towel, I held it up. "You got a message from Jay," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. She grabbed the phone without looking at me. "Oh, that is just my coworker, Jade. We are having dinner tonight to go over the presentation for Monday. I asked if I could come along. She laughed and said, "It is girl talk, babe. You would be bored to death." That night, she left at 7 and did not come home until midnight. I tried to ignore the nagging feeling in my gut. I really did. But 2 weeks after that text message, I could not take it anymore. We had a shared laptop that we both used for personal stuff. One afternoon while Sienna was at work, I opened it and checked her browser history. That is when I found a second email account I did not know existed. My hands shook as I logged in using the password she used for everything. There were dozens of emails, all to someone named Troy. I clicked on the first one dated 4 months ago, right around the time she got pregnant. Last night was incredible. I cannot stop thinking about you. My vision blurred. I kept reading. I hate lying to him, but what we have is too good to give up. Another one. He has no idea. He thinks everything is perfect. I felt like I was going to throw up. I scrolled through weeks of messages. They met up at hotels. They went to restaurants in other parts of the city where no one would recognize them. They talked about a future together. And then I found the email that made everything clear. Troy had written, "When are you going to tell him the truth?" Sienna replied, "Not yet. I need to figure out the timing. The baby complicates things, but maybe that works in our favor." The baby. My baby. Except maybe it was not mine at all. I sat there staring at the screen for what felt like hours. My whole body felt numb. 4 months. They had been seeing each other for 4 months. The exact timeline of her pregnancy. The math was right there in front of me, undeniable and devastating. I needed to see it with my own eyes. 3 days later, I told my boss I was taking a long lunch. I knew Sienna had told me she was going to a spa appointment that afternoon. Something about pregnancy massage. I followed her car from our apartment. She did not go to any spa. She drove to a hotel downtown. I parked across the street and waited. 20 minutes later, a man walked up to the entrance. He was tall, athletic build, the kind of guy who probably spent every morning at the gym. Sienna came out of the lobby and they embraced. Not a friendly hug, a real embrace, the kind where you hold someone like you have been missing them. Then they kissed. Right there in public, they kissed like they had every right to. I watched them walk into the hotel together. I sat in my car for over an hour, unable to move, unable to think. My wife, pregnant with what I thought was our child, was in a hotel room with another man. When they finally came back out laughing and holding hands, I drove home in a daze. I sat in our dark apartment and stared at the wall until Sienna came home 3 hours later, smelling like expensive soap, her hair still damp. "How was the spa?" I asked. She smiled and said it was amazing, exactly what she needed. She kissed me on the cheek and went to make herself tea. I wanted to scream. I wanted to confront her right then. But something stopped me. If I confronted her now, she would just lie. She would twist everything. I needed a plan. I needed proof that would hold up beyond any doubt. The baby was due in 4 months. I could wait. I had to wait. The breaking point came 3 weeks later. I had been working late at my home office, finishing up a logo design for a new client. It was almost 11 at night when I heard my car pull into the driveway. I had let Sienna borrow it because hers was in the shop. I was about to go greet her when I heard her voice through the open window. She was on the phone standing by the car door. I know, she was saying. Just a few more months. A pause, then, "I hate it too, baby, but we need to be smart about this." Another pause, longer this time. I moved closer to the window, staying in the shadows. Once the baby is born and everything is settled, we do not need him anymore. My blood ran cold. She laughed at something the person on the other end said. "He is clueless. He thinks the baby is his. We just need to play along until I can file for divorce and get what I deserve." She listened again. "Exactly. Child support from that fool will set us up nicely." I stumbled back from the window. They were planning to trap me. Use me for child support for a baby that was not even mine. Let me believe I was a father, attach my name to the birth certificate, and then take me for everything I had. The calculation of it, the coldness. This was not just an affair. This was a con. I did not sleep that night. I sat in my office chair until sunrise thinking. By the time Sienna woke up, I had made my decision. I was not going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to be the perfect husband, attentive, caring, excited about the baby. And while I did that, I was going to build my case. The next morning, I called a lawyer. His name was Graham, late 40s, came highly recommended for divorce cases. I laid out everything in his office: the emails, the hotel, the phone conversation I overheard. He listened without interrupting, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and said, "You need definitive proof. Everything you have is good, but DNA evidence is irrefutable." He explained that paternity testing before birth was possible, but expensive and carried some risk. "Wait until the baby is born," he advised. "Get the test done immediately. If the child is not yours, she cannot touch you for support." I also hired a private investigator, a woman named Sarah who had been doing this for 20 years. Within 2 weeks, she had a folder full of photographs. Sienna and Troy entering hotels on 6 different occasions. Them having dinner at restaurants in neighboring cities. One photo showed them kissing in his car. Another caught them walking hand in hand through a park. Sarah even managed to get shots of them through a hotel window. The evidence was overwhelming. "What are you going to do?" Graham asked when I brought him the photos. I looked at the pictures spread across his desk. My wife's face happy and carefree in the arms of another man. "I want to do something they will never forget," I said. Graham raised an eyebrow. "What did you have in mind?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. A gender reveal party. The baby was born on a Tuesday morning in late September. Sienna went into labor around 3 in the morning. I drove her to the hospital, held her hand through the contractions, whispered encouragement, even though I felt dead inside. When the nurse placed the baby boy in my arms, I looked down at his tiny face and felt nothing but sadness. This innocent child brought into a web of lies. The nurses took pictures of us. Sienna smiled for the camera, playing her role perfectly. I smiled too. I had gotten good at pretending. 2 days later, while Sienna was sleeping and the baby was in the nursery, I took a cotton swab and collected a DNA sample from inside his cheek. I did the same with my own mouth. I had already gotten Sienna's DNA from her hairbrush weeks earlier. I sent all 3 samples to a lab that specialized in paternity testing, paid extra for rush results. The answer came back in 5 days. I opened the email in my car, parked in a grocery store parking lot. The alleged father is excluded as the biological father. Probability of paternity 0%. I read it 3 times. Even though I had known seeing it in writing felt like being hit by a truck. I sat there for 30 minutes just breathing, letting the reality sink in. Then I forwarded the results to Graham and drove home. "So what now?" Graham asked when I met him the next day. "The party," I said. "I want to do it 3 weeks from now. That gives us time to plan." Graham looked at me like I was crazy. "You want to reveal at a party that the child is not yours?" I nodded. "I want everyone there, both families, all our friends, her coworkers, and I especially want Troy there." Graham whistled low. "That is brutal, man." I looked him straight in the eye. "They were going to bleed me dry for 18 years for a kid that is not mine. Brutal does not even begin to cover what they deserve." Planning the party was surreal. I told Sienna I wanted to throw a proper gender reveal party, even though the baby had already been born. "I know it is a little late," I said over breakfast one morning, "but we were so overwhelmed when he arrived. I want to celebrate with everyone properly, really make it special." Sienna looked surprised but agreed. "That is actually really sweet," she said, kissing my cheek. "I think people would love that." I bet she thought I was the perfect patsy. Probably could not believe how easy I was making everything. I rented a big projector and screen. I created a slideshow presentation, wedding photos, pictures from her pregnancy, photos of us at doctor appointments, sweet nostalgic stuff that would make everyone emotional, and at the end, the DNA results. At the end, I also made sure to get proper smoke bombs for the gender reveal moment. Blue ones since the baby was a boy. The irony was not lost on me. I invited everyone. I personally called Sienna's parents, her siblings, her friends. I invited my own family and close friends. I made sure to call her office and invite her whole team, and I specifically called Troy. "Hey man, I said when he answered, trying to sound friendly. I am throwing a gender reveal party for my wife, and I wanted to make sure her work family was there. Sienna talks about you guys all the time. He hesitated. Yeah, sure. I can make it. Perfect. The only person who knew the truth was my best friend, Jared. I had told him everything the week before. He looked at me with a mixture of horror and respect. You are really going to do this in front of everyone. I nodded. They wanted to play me for a fool. I am just giving them the stage they deserve. Jared gripped my shoulder. I will be right there with you, brother. The morning of the party, I woke up calm. Eerily calm. Sienna was excited getting herself and the baby ready. She wore a flowery dress and did her makeup carefully. This is going to be so fun, she said, smiling at me in the mirror. I smiled back. Yeah, I said. It really is. By 2 in the afternoon, our backyard was full of people. I had gone all out with decorations, balloons everywhere, pink and blue streamers, a big banner that said, boy or girl. People were drinking punch-eating appetizers, laughing and chatting. Sienna was in her element, holding the baby, accepting congratulations. My parents were there, beaming with pride at their grandson. Sienna's parents looked happy. Her siblings, her friends, everyone was having a good time. And there, standing awkwardly near the back fence, was Troy. He looked uncomfortable, checking his phone every few minutes. Every time he glanced at Sienna, there was something in his eyes, something possessive. It made my blood boil. Jared came up beside me, handed me a beer. You good, he whispered. I took a long drink. Let us do this, he nodded. I got your back. I walked to the center of the yard and called for everyone's attention. People quieted down, gathering around. Sienna moved to stand next to me, still holding the baby. Thank you all so much for coming today. I began, my voice steady. This is a really special moment for Sienna and me. We wanted to celebrate the arrival of our, well, let us say our baby boy with all the people we love. I emphasized the word our just slightly. A few people exchanged glances, but most just smiled. Now, before we do the gender reveal, I put together a little slideshow. I hope you enjoy it. I pressed play on the remote. The screen flickered to life. Our wedding photos appeared first. There we were on the beach, young and in love, kissing as the sun set behind us. People made appreciative sounds. "Aw," someone said. Next came photos from early in our marriage. Us hiking, cooking dinner together, celebrating birthdays. The photos progressed to Sienna's pregnancy. Me with my hand on her belly. Us at the ultrasound looking at the screen together. Then pictures of the baby in the hospital. Me holding him for the first time. Sienna looking tired but happy in her hospital bed. People were smiling, some wiping tears. This was exactly the emotional moment I wanted. Then the slideshow changed. The screen went black. White text appeared, DNA test results. The crowd went quiet. Confused murmurs started. I watched Sienna's face drain of color. Her eyes went wide. She looked at me in panic. The next slide showed the official lab document. Alleged father Atlas Morrison. Child baby boy Morrison. Result excluded as biological father. Probability of paternity 0%. The yard exploded in gasps and shocked whispers. My mother grabbed my father's arm. Sienna's mother put her hand over her mouth. People started talking all at once. Atlas, what is this? Sienna's father demanded, stepping forward. I held up my hand. Just watch, I said coldly. The slideshow continued. Now photos of Sienna and Troy appeared, kissing outside a hotel, walking hand in hand, entering his apartment building, sitting close in a restaurant booth. The private investigator had done her job well. Each photo was time-stamped, all during Sienna's pregnancy. Oh my God, someone whispered. Sienna started crying. Atlas, please stop this right now. I ignored her. The final slide appeared. Screenshots of text messages. We do not need him anymore. Once I get child support, we will be set. He is so clueless. The crowd was dead silent now, except for Sienna's mother sobbing. I turned to face everyone. I want you all to know the truth. This baby is not mine. My wife has been having an affair for over 6 months, and they plan to trap me. Make me think I was the father so they could take me for child support. I pointed across the yard to where Troy was trying to edge toward the exit. Everyone meet Troy, the real father. All eyes turned to Troy. Sienna's brother, a big guy who played college football, started walking toward him. Troy backed up, his face bright red. Now hold on, Troy stammered. This is not what it looks like. Jared moved to block his other escape route. Seems pretty clear to me, buddy, Jared said. Sienna was full-on crying now, mascara running down her face. Atlas, please let me explain. I made a mistake. I am so sorry. I looked at her. This woman I had loved so completely and felt nothing but cold rage. Explain what, Sienna, that you cheated? That you lied for months, that you were going to let me raise another man's child while taking my money? What exactly is there to explain? Her mother came over, tears streaming down her face. Is this true, Sienna? Sienna could not look at her. She just stood there holding the baby, sobbing. Her father looked at me with devastation in his eyes. I am so sorry, Atlas. We had no idea. I nodded. I know you did not, sir. This is not your fault. I addressed the whole crowd again. I am sorry for ruining what was supposed to be a celebration, but I needed all of you to see the truth. I will not be paying child support. I will not be part of this child's life, and tomorrow morning I will be filing for divorce. I looked directly at Sienna. You wanted to use me. You thought I was too stupid to figure it out. Well, surprise. The yard was chaos after that. People were arguing, crying, demanding explanations. Sienna tried to approach me, but Jared stepped between us. I think you have done enough, he told her quietly. Troy was getting yelled at by what seemed like half the party. Sienna's brother looked like he wanted to punch him. My mother pulled me into a tight hug. I am so proud of you for standing up for yourself, she whispered. My father just shook his head, looking at Sienna with disgust. Eventually, Sienna and Troy left together, him carrying the baby carrier, while she walked behind, head down. The party broke up quickly after that. People hugged me, offered support, said they were there if I needed anything. By 5 o'clock, everyone was gone except Jared. We sat on my back porch drinking beer in silence as the sun went down. Hell of a party, he finally said. I laughed a harsh sound. Yeah, one for the books. I filed for divorce the next morning, just like I said I would. With the DNA evidence and proof of adultery, it was open and shut. Sienna tried to fight it, at first claimed she wanted to work things out. But Graham shut that down fast. Your client committed fraud and planned to defraud my client financially, he told her lawyer. We have documented evidence of conspiracy. If she pushes this, we will pursue criminal charges. She signed the papers 2 weeks later. The property split was straightforward. We had not been married long enough to accumulate much. I kept my design business and equipment. She kept her car and some furniture. Our joint savings got divided 50-50. She could not ask for alimony because of the adultery. And obviously no child support since the baby was not mine. The whole thing was finalized within 3 months. Fastest divorce Graham said he had ever handled. Usually people drag these things out for years, he told me at our final meeting. But when the evidence is this clear, there is not much to fight about. I paid his bill and walked out of his office a free man. I found out later through mutual friends that Sienna and Troy did end up together. They moved to Arizona, probably to escape the judgment in San Diego. Sienna had lost her job after the scandal, not officially because of it, but everyone knew. Troy got let go from his position too. Something about creating a hostile work environment. I did not care what happened to them. They were not my problem anymore. The hardest part was not the divorce. It was the healing. I moved into a new apartment, smaller but mine. I threw myself into work, taking on more clients than I probably should have. It was easier to stay busy than to sit with my thoughts. My friends were amazing. Jared checked on me almost daily. My parents had me over for dinner twice a week. Slowly, very slowly, I started feeling like myself again. I joined a support group for people going through divorce. Sitting in that circle of strangers, hearing their stories, realizing I was not alone in this kind of pain, it helped. There was a guy whose wife left him after 20 years, a woman whose husband emptied their bank account and disappeared. We were all broken in different ways, but we understood each other. No judgment, no pity, just support. About 6 months after the divorce was final, I went on my first date. Nothing serious, just coffee with a woman I met at a design conference. It felt weird talking about myself, my life, without mentioning the huge elephant of what happened. But I got through it. We went out a few more times before mutually deciding we were better as friends. That was okay. I was not ready for anything serious anyway. I needed to figure out who I was as just Atlas, not Atlas the betrayed husband. Looking back now, I do not regret how I handled it. Some people said I was cruel, that humiliating them publicly was too much. But I disagree. They were going to commit fraud. They were going to lock me into 18 years of financial obligation for a child that was not mine. They were going to let me bond with that baby, love him, think he was my son, all while planning to take everything from me. What I did was nothing compared to what they planned. I learned a lot about trust, about how you can think you know someone completely and be totally wrong. My therapist says I have trust issues now, and yeah, she is probably right. But I also learned that I am stronger than I thought, that I can stand up for myself even when it is hard, that I do not have to be a victim just because someone tried to make me one. My business is doing well, better than ever, actually. I hired an assistant last month. I am thinking about expanding, maybe bringing on another designer. My apartment is exactly how I want it decorated, with things I chose, no compromises. I have good friends, a supportive family, and a future that belongs to me alone. Sometimes I wonder about that little boy. He will be almost a year old now. I hope Sienna and Troy are good parents to him. I hope they grew up and stopped being selfish. But mostly I just hope he has a good life. None of this was his fault. He did not ask to be born into a lie. As for me, I am okay. More than okay, really. I am free. Free from the lies, the manipulation, the betrayal. I wake up every morning in my own space, answering to no one, living my truth. Would I have chosen this path? No. But I am glad I had the courage to walk it once I realized where I was. People ask me if I will ever get married again. I do not know. Maybe someday if I meet someone who proves themselves trustworthy over time. But I am in no rush. I am learning to be happy on my own first, to build a life that I love regardless of whether there is someone to share it with. The gender reveal party has become legendary in our circle. People still talk about it. I have had strangers reach out to me on social media asking if the story is true. Some call me a hero. Others say I went too far. I do not care either way. I did what I had to do to protect myself and expose the truth. They thought they could use me and get away with it. But sometimes the best revenge is not silence. It is making sure everyone knows exactly who they really are. And that gender reveal party, best decision I ever made. If you made it this far, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to make a hard choice to protect yourself? Would you have done the same thing or handled it differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel because I share more real stories like this one. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe someone who is going through something similar and needs to know they are not alone. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, standing up for yourself is never wrong. Take care of yourselves out there, and I will see you in the next one.